News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. The Utah Court of Appeals has overturned the conviction of a Providence doctor who was found guilty of sexually abusing a child 2 years ago. The court ruled that 44-year-old Brevin Baugh was not fairly represented by his defense attorney, Greg Skordas. On December 5th, 2020, a jury of 4 women and 4 men found Baugh guilty on one of 2 counts of aggravated sexual abuse of a child, a first-degree felony. The split verdict was reached after more than 8 hours of deliberation. The jury's decision came after 2 days of testimony. It included the then teenage victim tearfully describing how Baugh allegedly made her touch him inappropriately on several occasions. The crimes occurred when she was between 9 or 10 years old, but was not reported to law enforcement until 2018. Baugh took the witness stand during the trial. He denied he ever abused the girl. In the Court of Appeals ruling, Judge David Mortensen wrote that during the trial's closing arguments for the 2 felony counts, prosecutors referenced testimony of 3 instances of alleged abuse. But the state then told the jury that those 2 counts can be fulfilled with any 2 of those experiences. Baugh's appeal asserted that the jury was prejudiced. He claimed they were not instructed correctly, that they were to unanimously agree as to which of the alleged incidences constituted each of the 2 charged crimes. Judge Mortensen's opinion agreed with Baugh. He wrote that it was entirely possible that some of the jurors convicted on count 2 based on the belief that the alleged abuse occurred during one particular instance, while other jurors convicted based on the belief that the abuse occurred during a different instance. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy, then mostly cloudy. Areas of fog late tonight. Low temperature around 10. And then on Saturday, areas of fog early morning becoming mostly sunny. And the high temperature in the lower 30s. It's 26 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Wheatland Seed. With higher fertilizer prices and drought conditions, 2022 will be challenging. So lower your input costs during Wheatland Seed's pre-season sale. All oats, barley, cover crops, and alfalfa will be priced below last year's prices. Visit wheatlandseed.com for more information.
If you think it's expensive to hire a professional, just wait until you hire an amateur.
Why the heck is the roof leaking? Larry, you said you got it fixed.
I thought it was fixed, Donna. Everything was fine until it started raining.
Larry, that's the point of fixing the roof, is so we can actually live here when it's stormy outside.
This is David with Roof Rescue. Our experienced roofing team is tried and true and will fix your roof guaranteed. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free roof inspection. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. Even before the University of Utah sent out an alert last week that a sexual assault was being investigated at a fraternity house, an app that allows users to post anonymously was lighting up with similar stories. U of U student Allie Moore, who works at the McCluskey Center of Violence Prevention, took note of the stories and addressed them in a blog on the center's website. Moore said the anonymous message board Yik Yak was flooding with survivors of sexual assault sharing their stories. Most of the stories took place at parties within Greek life, users identifying themselves as both men and women. Moore shared screen captures of the anonymous Yik Yak posts with KUTV. They describe various assaults taking place at fraternities near the University of Utah campus. Moore said the posts are reflective of the conversations going on in the fraternity and sorority community on campus. According to the University Safety Department, on January 26th, the student reported being sexually assaulted at the Kappa Sigma fraternity house in September of 2021. The student said the assault happened at a Wine Wednesday event at the frat house and the perpetrator was reportedly unknown to the victim before the party, according to the safety warning. And authorities reopened I-15 in southern Utah early this morning after two separate crashes involving semi-trucks had lanes closed for hours. According to Utah Highway Patrol Sergeant Cameron Roden, the two incidents occurred just hours apart from each other, and they both happened in the same area. KUTV reports the first crash happened at about 9:30 p.m. when a Washington County deputy was stopping a sedan that was traveling northbound on I-15. According to a statement from Roden, the sedan slowed down in one lane and then attempted to cut across the other lane to the right shoulder, and in doing so, the sedan was sideswiped by a semi-truck pulling doubles that was in lane 2. The collision caused the semi to tip onto its side. It came to rest in the median of the freeway, though the rear trailer was still on the road and blocked all lanes of travel. Roden said the truck driver sustained minor injuries. 3 hours later, a semi broke down and was blocking a northbound lane in the area of mile marker 2. A second semi crashed into the rear of the broken down truck. The crash ended up blocking 2 lanes. KBNU News Time is 4:11. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Stay informed, stay connected. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, and online at 610kvnu.com.
Hi, this is Drew Allen with Allen Mortuaries. Over the years, thousands of families have planned ahead with Allen Mortuaries. Planning ahead helps you make informed and thoughtful decisions. It also spares your family the stress of making these decisions under the pressure of time and strong emotions. Allen Mortuaries' secure pre-need trust plan can save you nearly 40% versus other plans. Keep it simple, safe, and secure. Go with the proven choice, Allen Mortuaries. Voted best funeral home in Cache Valley in northern Utah. Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
Coming up on the Monday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, are we finally at the off-ramp from COVID madness, or the Democrats going to try to extend this out even further? We'll talk about the latest stories, mask mandates in schools, and everything else. Plus, Clay, what do you got?
Winter Olympics underway. What are the geopolitical fallout of China and bending the knee to that country, especially when Putin is visiting in China at the time of the Olympics? All that and more. We'll break it down for you. It'll be the Clay and Buck Show coming with us Monday.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Serving overseas was just the beginning. We might be home from war, but our mission continues in communities all across the country. It's why we're out there in times of peace and crisis, providing meals to the hungry and supplies to the sick. It's why we're giving strength to those who are too weak and bringing resources to those without them. Service doesn't stop when we're done serving. It's what makes us the VFW. Learn more at vfw.org.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Friday, beautiful Friday afternoon, February 4th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. I had a big plan. All this stuff from the legislature we're going to talk about, and we will, but we're going to start things off here today. Occasionally this happens. Everybody, I think, experiences this, but you have either you're just paying attention that day for some reason, or a few things happen while you're out driving, and it causes you to be aware of this and think about this. But, man, do we have some courtesy problems here in Utah when it comes to how we drive. I don't know if this, maybe it's everywhere. I haven't experienced it as being everywhere. I haven't been a lot of places outside of Utah recently, Idaho, a little bit into Nevada, places like that. But, you know, there are places where you turn your signal on and people let you in rather than race up to fill the gap in a childish manner. But I think one of the biggest things I see here in Cache Valley, at least, those fast lane loiterers. People that just seem to have no idea there's anyone else on the road but them.
And they're usually in your blind spot.
Well, and they're usually in a nicer vehicle, something maybe expensive. Just the most important person out traveling that day, I guess. Yeah, I have had them linger in my blind spot as well. And, yeah, it's just...
You only see them when you're trying to change lanes, and then... Oh, they're right there. Oh,
yeah.
I can't change lanes unless I speed up or really, really slow down.
It's really, it's more than just an irritant. If you think about the effect this has on traffic in general, it takes one person. And this isn't even anything that affected me today. My actual travels were pretty smooth as far as, you know, my commute time, and I made it a few places a little more quickly than I often do even. So it wasn't it was just, I was noticing all this stuff happening, and I'm reminded of, it was actually a highway patrol officer that told me once, and I can't use the actual language he used on air here. This was years ago. He said it only takes one blank on the freeway to kind of screw it up for everyone. One person, but it was a colorful word
more
that he used.
More than just jerk, I guess.
Yeah, it was a little more
stronger.
A little stronger than that. But jerk works. Honestly, though, I sometimes you see how people drive, and I don't think it's an intentional decision to be a jerk. I really think some people just have...
I don't think there's... A lot of times people are not thinking.
I just think some people, maybe they're distracted. Maybe I try to remember everybody's got a story. You never know what someone's story is, so, you know, try not to be judgmental. But I think that can be a part of it. You know, someone's maybe had a bad day. Maybe they've got a lot on their mind, and they're just not paying attention. And that's going to happen, and we all do that. No one's innocent of that. Other times, I think you really do have some people that are just absolutely unaware that there's anyone else around trying to get places, trying to enjoy their day as well. And they're just doing that thing that causes the entire lane of traffic or that road to just bottleneck. And then you have people, you have the aggressive drivers that are compounding that by tailgating and getting upset because, yeah, you know, someone's hanging out in the fast lane going under the speed limit, completely unaware of the 10 cars lined up behind them. And then you have a couple of also jerks behind them following too close, trying to send a message, trying to get them to move, which doesn't help, really. It just makes things worse and increases the odds of an accident. And sure, the whole situation is primarily the fault of that one person just hanging out in that lane for absolutely no reason. But then... You know, there's a lot of others that then make the situation worse. It just boggles me because everyone involved in that is at higher risk for an accident for various reasons, including the doodah in the fast lane. We're just unaware of the situation they're causing. That said, you know, I've also seen people move into the fast lane to pass a car on 10th West, for example, move over into that left lane to get around a slower vehicle. And they're already going the speed limit or even a mile or two over the speed limit, and someone gets behind them, just angry somebody's in front of them, which is also just silly. I really think everybody needs to kind of take a deep breath and be a little more conscious of the way you're driving and how it's affecting others. everyone, I think, could keep in mind more that everybody has a story. There's always something that's happened in that person's day, that may have been a contributor to distraction, things like that. We could all be a little more forgiving. I'm forgiving of the litterers in the fast lane just because I've done it myself, to this extent at least. I've done it myself where I've been driving along, and all of a sudden I look up in my rearview mirror and realize, there's 5 cars behind me, and I'm going 5 miles under the speed limit in the left lane. But you can quickly rectify that. Speed up a bit to get around the car next to you and get over.
Yeah.
To let those pass. The unwillingness of some people to do that.
I'm in the inside lane.
Yeah.
This is my lane, and I've been in this lane since Hiram,
Sure.
and I'm going to stay in this lane till I hit
That's the person I'm talking
Logan
about.
or my destination.
That belligerent person that is fully aware of what they're causing, fully aware that they are in the wrong, that they're driving poorly, and yet they do not care that they're in this lane. I've heard people say it before. I've heard drivers in a car I've been in say, "Let him go around me." Well, no,
they're not supposed to go around on the right hand side.
To quote the Big Lebowski, "This is not Nom, Smokey. There are rules." And the rules, this is what everyone, I think, could do with a dose of a reminder on once in a while. The rules are to keep everyone as safe as possible, but also to keep traffic flowing. Some of these traffic laws and traffic rules, and even those that aren't written down, that are sort of the societal agreements that we all make on what you're not to do to put other drivers at risk or inconvenience them unnecessarily. All of this is about traffic flow, about keeping things moving. And so this brings me back to we're headed into kind of an exciting time with Main Street Logan. And don't expect, I wouldn't expect any of these changes that are even being discussed or pondered by UDOT and Logan City involved in this as well. I think the county's also weighing in because there are parts, that affect, county roads and things like that connect. So a lot of discussion is happening and will be happening about Logan City Main Street. And as County Executive David Zook told us in their meetings with UDOT, they've agreed to kind of prioritize a little bit in Cache Valley more than they'd originally wanted to. So that's good. And everyone's got a theory about Main Street Logan. I say on the show all the time that I exaggerate when I say it to be dramatic, because that's what I do. But I say you could fix every problem with a physical median. In reality, that's not going to fix every problem. I think you're also going to have to eliminate some lights. You're going to have to barricade off somehow with a few roads. I think fewer entrances and exits from Main Street would keep traffic flowing a little more inconvenience. Maybe you have to go around a couple of blocks to get where you're going more often than you're used to. But if you got rid of, I think a huge improvement to Main Street Logan, if you got rid of those people, I see them all the time. In fact, I saw someone just today, this afternoon, one of the busiest times of Logan Main Street, sitting at the the intersection with Al's Sporting Goods, Five Guys, all of that, Denny's. I think they're in the same spot, El Toro. That corner, and they're sitting in one of those lanes that meets with Main Street, coming out in between. I think it comes out in between Five Guys and El Toro, and their left turn signal is on. And I see them as I drive past. All I think in my head is, well, good luck to you, sir. I hope you are not in a hurry. Because that road is, maybe 20, 30 yards from the intersection.
Yeah.
It's nonstop traffic this time of day, both directions on Main Street. Why are you trying to turn left?
Burn a little more gas and go around.
In the time it takes you to sit there with your turn signal on to turn left across Main Street, you could have gone out the back exit, gone around the block to the light on 14th North, all right-hand turns, which are going to be a lot faster, and made it north to wherever you're going. There is absolutely no reason for you to be sitting there trying to turn left across Main Street 20 yards from a red light that is going to stop traffic on a regular basis. That poor person, I wouldn't be surprised if they are still sitting there And this was, I think, about 2:30 when I saw them. So I think things like that would help, and a physical median that made that not a possibility. So there was no point in trying to turn left across Main Street because there's a physical median.
And that is, I've not seen any hard statistics about that recently, but I do think that is the cause of many of the crashes.
I think
locally that take place in the valley.
I know that many of the risky, I can't believe you weren't just in an accident things that I've seen on Main Street, Logan, have involved someone turning left from a non-inter. We should clarify that. I'm not talking about left turns at an intersection.
Right, with a stoplight.
Yeah. I'm talking about those left turns from mid-block and things like that. Turning left trying to turn left onto the main road. I haven't seen statistics either, but I know that the things I remember having seen recently where I thought, I can't believe you pulled that off and didn't get an offender bender at least, have involved people turning left onto Main Street. I've seen some real risks taken by those people.
And something else
it makes no sense.
Something else I've been seeing more and more, and have I done this myself? Yes, I have.
Oh, sure.
A few times, but I see people running red lights all the time, and not just lights that are, it's going from amber to red, and you're at that weird point where you don't know, should I hit the brakes or should I just go for it?
Sure.
This is after the light's been red for like a couple of seconds, 2 or 3 seconds. Light's been red, and
Very
people still just barreling through.
Yeah. It's dangerous because you also have those people turning left at the light at the intersection that are waiting for for traffic to slow so they can turn. The last few cars, they're going to make it through that light. And that's a pretty common accident. Someone turning left and they see the light changes, everybody stops, and there's that one guy that decides, I'm going to punch it and crash. And those crashes can be deadly because of the position of both cars at the time that it usually happens. So, I mean, these are all avoidable things, but it takes smarter driving. It takes more patient driving. It takes just realizing, that I know it's hard to remember. Like you just said, Bill, I'm guilty of this as well, but it runs through my head once in a while. You're literally talking about the difference of arriving, at a certain time or a minute and a half later. And one of my favorite things is when you see that person.
Or if you're in a crash, it's obviously much later that you arrive at where you wanted to go.
Oh, yeah, much later, and you've got months of fun phone calls with insurance companies. One of my favorite things, and you see this all the time, but you see that car just driving super aggressive, cutting in and out, passing people on the right, passing people on the left, tailgating, sometimes flashing their lights. And I get it. If there's an emergency of some kind, I mean, it would have to justify that type of driving, it'd have to be a real emergency. Generally, I think it's just people that like to drive that way and feel that what they're headed to do is more important than anyone else's plans. And then you see them put all this effort into it, all this stress, their blood pressure's up, their foreheads covered in sweat, their near misses left and right, and then the light changes, and you, who have been casually driving the speed limit in the same lane, just going with traffic, get a chance to pull up right next to them at the red light. All of their effort wasted. There you are, same spot anyway, and I always take a second to turn my head and give them a little smile. But so here's my question for listeners. On the other side of the break, what do you think would fix Main Street? I'm saying physical median. Not everywhere. I mean, there are going to have to be some openings, of course, intersections, obviously, but maybe some others that would be left open for a potential left-hand turn that would be possible at 2 a.m. But really, I think a physical median throughout much of Main Street, stopping those left-hand turns onto the road mid-block, and also, on top of that, reducing some of the opportunities to enter and exit Main Street in general, maybe even eliminate a couple of lights. I think if you do that, you could really just in a very measurable way, very noticeable way, impact the traffic on Main Street. But I want to hear from our listeners. Do you think there's more? Are there things you think that Main Street needs in order to increase traffic flow? And also keep in mind, we're planning ahead here a bit as well. These discussions are about the growth we're expecting here in Cache Valley. You think about how bad the traffic is now. Imagine doubling the population of Cache Valley, which is projected to happen in the next 30 years. 753-5868. Your ideas to fix Logan Main Street. We can expand this out, too, if you've got ideas throughout the rest of the valley. Rest of the valley, one of the things I want to see, more roundabouts and some up-training on use of roundabouts. If everybody yields, those roundabouts make traffic flow. The problem you have is a lot of people apparently don't understand that. 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
Beaver Mountain will be having a public night for skiing and snowboarding Saturday, February 5th. The Little Beaver Lift will be open from 5 to 9 p.m. for just $20. Ski and snowboard rentals will be available, as well as first-time beginner lessons. Age requirements apply. The cafe will also be open that night. For more information and to purchase tickets, go to skithebeav.com. Limited number of tickets are available and must be purchased in advance online. Call 753-0921 for more information or any questions. Come on up and ski the Beav.
If you're near retirement or thinking about retiring, you probably have questions. How do you make your savings last? How much should you take out and when? You're ready for retirement, but are your finances? Your Edward Jones financial advisor can help you build a strategy to help your finances keep up with your needs over the long haul. You've done what it takes to get there. Now it's time to make the most of retirement. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by your local Edward Jones office. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. A listener pointing out that my suggestion that you could fix Logan Main Street with a physical median and a few less entrances and exits to the street, a few less traffic lights maybe even. Listener points out in a roundabout way that public transit is going to have to be a part. I agree. That's something. I don't know what the fix is for that. We have a unique culture and mindset here in Cache Valley that is still... I've said before, I hate that the legislature now refers to us as a satellite community, because that's when they talk about Cache Valley, they used to say rural community, like they do with Box Elder County cities and towns and Rich County. But Cache Valley, because of our population, because of the university, all of that, the food service industry is huge here. Because of all of that, we're considered a satellite community of the Wasatch Front in public policy. And maybe that's fair. Maybe that's where we're at. I don't know. I don't like it, though, because I feel like we're still pretty rural. But one thing I know for sure, we still have a very rural mindset. And in a rural mindset, you hop in your pickup truck and you drive to town. And it's town. You don't drive to Logan, you drive to town.
Yeah.
And that is still where we're at mentally. And so... I think we do see less and less of those people that just belligerently hate public transit just to be hating public transit because only hippies like public transit. I think we're outgrowing that mindset finally. Demographic changes are shifting that too. The younger generation definitely doesn't feel that way. Generation Z. In fact, they don't want to work anywhere where there isn't robust public transit, somewhere where they can get to and from work in 15, 20 minutes. They will actually turn down high-paying jobs graduating college. We saw some data on that just from this year. So the up-and-coming generation, and millennials before them were a lot like this too, at least more close to that than like my generation and older are. But it'll change, and there will be an embrace of public transit even here in Cache Valley that we don't see today. The reality right now, though, is that it's expensive to build. So there is a plan to bring Frontrunner to Brigham City. That was announced, I think, more than a decade ago. But at the time, it was a 20, 25-year time frame when they were thinking of doing that. Now they've bumped that up. They want to have Frontrunner running to Brigham City a lot sooner. I did see at least one proposal that it would be within 10 years the Front Runner rail system would go to Brigham City. Once you see Front Runner come to Brigham City, you're going to see more interest and more state money put into the Cache Valley Transit District, which is good because I think they've fought the transit district. So, I mean, to be honest with you, until recently, so has the county council, more than necessary. Fought the idea of this transit district being necessary. I think the reality is right in front of us right now. And so that has stopped, thankfully. A few years ago, everyone finally got over that speed bump and realized this has to be a part of our transportation future here in northern Utah even. So hopefully what happens is once Front Runner is in Brigham City, you see more interest in beefing up the Cache Valley Transit District and things like, you could have a rapid... I've heard rumors and speculation and people suggesting even that, you could do a rail system all the way from the Front Runner stop in Box Elder over into Cache Valley. And you could. There's the tracks are already down to Cache Junction. And then there's an old, I'm sure it would need some repairs. There's an old loop here in Cache Valley that's still, visible in most places. So, yeah, you could do that. But I would guess what we see, probably in our lifetimes at least, we'd probably see Front Runner come to Brigham City, and then you'd see some kind of rapid bus system. Rapid bus system meaning it's a point A to point B. It's not a bus that stops everywhere along the way and takes an hour and a half to get to work. It's a bus that takes 15 minutes to take you from Logan to Brigham City, from point A to point B, period. That's all it does all day long, maybe 20 minutes. And that's probably what we'll see in our lifetime. We'll see Front Runner come to Brigham City. We'll see some kind of rapid bus system. We might see, I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if I saw proposals for some kind of light rail system. But I think it's more likely going to be a rapid bus system that can get you from your home or from the transit center or from a key stop to the high speed rail system stop in Brigham City, and then from there on down the Wasatch Front as far as right now it goes just past a little bit past Town Center Provo. So yeah, that's going to be interesting because that does open up the economy a little bit here in Cache Valley. Even if people have the option to take a 30-minute public transit ride for a job, you'll see more people working outside the valley and more people working inside the valley as well. So it'll be a wash, as far as the economy goes. But it will open up some options and some choices. And as far as it helping Main Street traffic, yeah, I think it would. I think what would help Main Street traffic more, though, is if people who are just going from, home to pick up a prescription or from home to do some retail shopping in which you're not going to be carrying 80 pounds in several bags, take that CVTD bus, that probably stops somewhere near your home, nearer than you probably realize, and probably comes more often than you realize. And I think once people start wrapping their heads around that and making that a more regular practice, you will see some reduction in traffic. But really, I think for the immediate, it's going to take some kind of physical change to Main Street to stop certain traffic behavior.
I mean, you look at Ogden. I mean, you have Washington Boulevard, the big thoroughfare through that area.
Yeah.
But then to the east, you have Harrison Boulevard that goes a real long way,
Sure.
right along the mountains
with fewer lights. I've noticed that. You've got Washington has a light every block. Harrison, they've taken a lot of the lights out, obviously with the intent of making it a,
and in Cache Valley, on the east side, you have 1200 East that goes basically from 4th North or US 89 on north, for forever. But we have this big thing in the valley or in the middle of town called the Island, and it's a lot lower, and they never constructed the roads through that area to be thoroughfares.
Sure.
Because originally if you look at old pictures of Logan, the island was pretty rural. And so they've, tried to keep somewhat of that small town feel, on the island.
That's, you bring up the island. This is something interesting that a transportation official out of Idaho once told me. He said, as long as you're talking north to south, if everyone's talking about how to fix traffic, but you're always talking north to south roads in Utah, then you're still kind of a small you're still small potatoes, population-wise and all that. He said, when you start talking east to west, you are a big city at that point. You are, and we're right there, I think. Because, you mentioned the island, and you mentioned there are some other ones. Fourth North has been a kind of a consternation for a long time. It would be a perfect straightaway if possible, especially people could come in on people going through the canyon, for example, off over into Bear Lake or on up into parts of Idaho and Wyoming. They could come in on 10th West. There isn't a spot there to do it, but if they could take 4th North straight up the canyon, that's going to alleviate a lot of traffic. But that's physically making that happen. That's going to be tough, I think. So, yeah, eventually, I think we're right on the cusp of having to start having those east to west thoroughfare conversations. And as this transportation official out of Idaho told me once, he said, down in Utah, he was from Boise. And he said, down in Utah, you guys are still talking north to south problems. You're still trying to, Cache Valley, you're still trying to figure out north to south.
And part of that is, we have this big thing called the Wasatch Range to the east.
Yeah, so
you can only go so far
everything's
east.
North to south, yeah. But he said when you guys aren't considered, we wouldn't call you big city dealing with big city problems until you're having to have those east to west conversations. But I do think we're there. We're right on the cusp of that. Some are even happening a little bit, but I think we're on the cusp of having to start talking about not just, right now extending 10th West all the way to Airport Road, as we call it, here in the Valley. That's the next step in that north-south thoroughfare. And a lot of work has been going on to make First East and in the future First West an offset to Main Street traffic a bit, at least. As we discussed with the North Logan mayor last week, they've done some amazing. That road is amazing. It just, honestly, it's exactly what should happen throughout the valley, through North Logan there, just off of Main Street. And that we're still there right now immediately, but we're going to have to start talking east to west soon, which, at least according to that Idaho Department of Transportation official, once you're having east to west conversations, you're big city. What do you think, though? 753-5868, talking traffic in Logan in general, but specifically Main Street Logan. What would fix it? 753-5868. We'll be back right after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:42, and the news is brought to you by Northern Steel Building. Another COVID death in northern Utah was included in the Utah Department of Health report today. A Box Elder County man between 65 and 84 years of age and was hospitalized at the time of death. With 13 new deaths since Thursday, 4,173 Utahns have lost their lives to the coronavirus in the last 23 months. That includes 205 in northern Utah. The UDOH week-ending COVID report today includes 2,808 new coronavirus cases since Thursday. There have been 898,267 positive cases in the state of Utah since the start of the pandemic. The Friday report of cases continues a significant drop since the numbers peaked at over 13,000 during a day in January. And as far as northern Utah is concerned, numbers are trending down from where they were a short time ago. 161 new positive cases were reported today. The northern Utah case count has reached 49,790 in Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties. Within the district, 1,910 people have been hospitalized since the pandemic began. The Republican National Committee has censured 2 GOP lawmakers for participating on the committee investigating the violent January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. The RNC assailed Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger for their work on the panel. It accused the panel of using broad subpoena power to persecute people who had engaged in what the party calls legitimate political discourse. Cheney and Kinzinger are the only two Republicans on the House committee investigating the attack. Republican officials also advanced a plan today to change party rules to prohibit their candidates from participating in debates organized by the Commission on Presidential Debates. And Brandon Horvath had 19 points, 11 rebounds as Utah State defeated San Jose State 78-62 last night in the Spectrum. Justin Bean added 18 points, 11 rebounds for the Aggies on Thursday night. Trey Smith led the Spartans with 14 points as the Aggies prepare for UNLV. An afternoon game at 4 o'clock in the Spectrum. Al Lewis will have game day at 3 Saturday afternoon on KBNU. News time 4:45.
A building is just a building until it's your building. It's where you work, where you create, and where you store your valuable equipment. You take pride in your building, so make sure it's built right and built to last. Northern Steel Buildings will guide you from concept to construction. For your commercial, agricultural, or industrial steel building, visit northernsteelbuilding.com to see their quality work or call 435-677-7300. Northern Steel Buildings. Value from concept to construction.
KBNU weather for tonight. It looks like partly cloudy skies this evening, then becoming mostly cloudy, and the updated forecast have us down between 5 and 10 above in the overnight hours. Partly cloudy in the morning, then clearing, areas of fog in the morning, high temperature in the upper 20s. Partly cloudy, then mostly sunny on Sunday, high temperature around 30. And it's been to 26 or 27, make that. Right now it's 26 degrees at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Wheatland Seed. With higher fertilizer prices and drought conditions, 2022 will be challenging. So lower your input costs during Wheatland Seed's preseason sale. All oats, barley, cover crops, and alfalfa will be priced below last year's prices. Visit wheatlandseed.com for more information. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Rochelle Hanks bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Tron Arnold and Edward Jones for Friday, February 4th. Today's highlight was a very strong January employment report, which is a positive sign for the economy, but boosted expectations for tighter monetary policy. Despite the surge in COVID-19 cases due to the Omicron variant, the U.S. economy added 467,000 jobs, handily exceeding the estimates of 125,000. Not only did the January payroll surprise to the upside, but also revisions to the prior 2 months added a sizable 709,000 jobs. The unemployment rate ticked higher, but for good reason, as more workers came back into the workforce, pushing the labor force participation rate higher to 62%. The job market's resiliency, as demonstrated by today's release, likely solidifies the Fed's plan to start removing its accommodation, as now both the inflation and employment mandates suggest that the economy no longer needs help. U.S. equities closed higher today. The Dow closed down 21 points at 35,090. The Nasdaq closed up 219 points at 14,098, and the S&P closed up 23 points at 4,501. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 1.92%. In stocks of local interest, Thermo Fisher is down 51 cents to $594.42. Home Depot is down $5.14 to $359.67. Autoliv is up 63 cents to $101.61. Lowe's is down $5.04 to $229.07. Walmart is down $1.66 to $139.33. Nucor is down 99 cents to $111.26. Coca-Cola is down 65 cents to $60.96. Kroger is down 34 cents to $44.77. General Electric is up 69 cents to $99.01, and R.R. Donnelley & Sons was unchanged. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was up $1.95 to $92.22, and the spot price of gold was up $4.10 to $1,808.20. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Tron Arnold, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1202 South Highway 89 in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact any of our 7 Edward Jones offices in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
I've constantly been fighting with my weight and thyroid issues for more than 25 years, and none of the doctors in 25 years have ever been able to explain to me what Hashimoto's is what it means to me, and how to manage it.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
Today, my life is like the minute I get out of bed, I hit the ground running. I'm ready to go. I want to see what today is going to bring, what adventures I'm going to have without pain and with all the energy to do everything that I want to do.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life. With our satisfaction guarantee, you have nothing to lose.
Call Red River at 855-55-RIVER to schedule an in-depth consultation absolutely free. All appointments can be done remotely by FaceTime, Skype, or phone.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. A quick note. I made a mistake yesterday. I know. I honestly don't.
You?
I don't remember.
You made a mistake?
I did. I don't remember saying this, but I believe that I did. And I got a text from our good friend Chris Booth, chair of the Cash Republican Party. I got a quick little shout out. I got to give it to Chris Booth. He, as chairman of the Cash Republican Party, he stayed away from. There are some silly things going on in Utah right now. And it's sad because in a way, we've seen, not here, but we've seen county parties almost start acting like national parties. And not just the Republican county parties. The Democratic county parties are doing this too. And they're bringing in these big national speakers, well-known conservative, basically personalities, not even scholars, just personalities, media stars, and the Democrats are doing that too. And I hate that trend because I love the county parties used to use Lincoln Day dinners and county caucuses and all or county conventions. I mean, is almost like educational experiences about the party, but also about things coming up in the state. And so to see a lot of the county parties, left and right here in Utah, go towards this. This sensationalized reality TV garbage. It's been disappointing. But under Chris Booth's leadership here in Cache Valley, the Cache Republican Party has stayed away from that. And so hats off to him for that. But he texted me last night, and apparently while I was talking about a bill just passed the Senate, the Utah Senate, that it caused a lot of people were upset because of the title. In the age we live in and the age of, as it's known, the big lie, this idea that the election in 2020 was stolen. It wasn't. If it was, they'd found the evidence by now, and Arizona couldn't after millions of dollars and months of forced auditing. They actually found more votes for the winner of the presidential election. So it's created this weird environment in which anybody sees a bill in the legislature, whether it's a red state or blue state, that says anything about election amendments, everybody's hackles go up, understandably, because there are some pretty out there bills. There's a group in Utah that wants to do away with mail-in voting entirely, and even early voting, and make it really hard to even get an absentee ballot. For why? They don't have a good reason. In fact, the founder of the group was quoted in a Tribune story just today. It's published just today, at least. I don't know when the interview was conducted, in which he said, look, I'm not saying there are any problems. I'm like, okay, so what are you out there doing, man? Anyway, that bill, so my point is I understand why people kind of bristle up. Oh, what are we changing? This bill was so innocent, and there is a countering point of view on this. Some people who did understand what the bill was doing still opposed it, and I don't think that's. I don't know. Maybe it is fair. What this comes down to is there's a rule in Utah that incumbent state lawmakers being in a legislative session can't campaign. I love that rule. I'm sure the lines get blurred all the time because the same lobbyists that a lot of them are talking to write the legislation that will govern our lives are the same lobbyists that write a lot of big campaign checks. So I'm sure this isn't, a completely enforced rule, but I'm glad the rule exists. They can't campaign for the 45-day legislative session because they're supposed to be doing the people's work, not getting their behinds reelected. I think it's an important rule. Almost every state has a rule like this. But what that means is that if the filing period for election opens before the legislative session is over, there was a situation recently where incumbent lawmakers planning to run for re-election, not being able to do anything campaign or re-election related legally, at least during that 45-day session, they had 2 full days to file for re-election, to get the paperwork in order, to get it to the county clerk's office, sign and swear in person. They had 2 full days, and granted, that's enough time. This didn't stop anyone, but everyone else had a full week, and everyone else could campaign leading up to that week, and everyone else. So basically, what this bill, Senate Bill 170, did, this is all it did. It pushed back the deadline for filing to run for candidacy. That's it. Republicans and Democrats supported this. There was only one vote against, and I don't even know why that person voted against it. I'm not sure he does. When he was interviewed about it, he had a hard time explaining. Sometimes they just hit a button and they don't know what they're voting on. But this was unanimous support from both major political parties here in Utah. The governor had actually already endorsed it, and it literally makes a clerical change that makes it so the filing period to run for election here in Utah doesn't start until the legislative session ends, rather than have it ending a day or two after the legislative session ends. And I think that's kind of fair. Some actually disagree. Some say if you run and get elected for office, you deal with the consequences and the burden of that. And one of the burdens is you can't campaign for the 45-day session. If that means you have 2 days to file for re-election, it's part of the job. And okay, I'm sympathetic to that, but I don't see a reason to oppose this change. Apparently yesterday, though, when I was talking about this, I said it pushes back the start and end of the filing period for election this year. Apparently, I also said it was going to push back caucus nights. It's not. Chris Booth texted me just after the show last night and said it is not going to affect the actual caucus night events. They'll be able to hold those at the time they're planned, despite this change to the filing period. So, and one last quick thing about Cash Republicans while I'm here on the topic. Their Lincoln Day dinner is coming up for those interested. It's February 19th. There's a 5 p.m. reception and then a 6 p.m. dinner. You can buy tickets at cashgop.com. It will take place at the USU Taggart Student Center, the grand ballroom there. And the keynote speaker is a conservative activist from China named Lily Tang Williams. And that Lincoln Day dinner, again, is February 19th. The dinner starts at 6. There's a reception before that at 5. You can get your tickets at cashgop.com. We'll be back right after this.
Dan and Stacy Jessup adhere to principles of honesty and integrity. They love guiding individuals through the Medicare process at no additional cost. They will simplify the process guaranteed. Call Jessup Insurance 435-213-3200 or Google Jessup Insurance.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Okay, guys, she's very forgiving, but this is the one time you need to get it right. Valentine's is Monday, February 14th. Call your phone order in now to Plant Peddler Floral. You'll see that something magical happens, and you'll get all the credit when the delivery guy shows up at the house or her place of work with a beautiful arrangement of flowers. Call Plant Peddler and have a credit card ready. Plant Peddler takes care of the rest. They'll deliver her Valentine's flowers and make you the hero she thinks you are. Call Plant Peddler Floral, 435-753-0444.
Pristine wilderness can still be found in the West, where creeks run freely and historic apple trees still bear fruit. Maple Creek Ranch features breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available with adjacent wilderness areas that provide endless riding and recreational possibilities. So find your piece of paradise just 35 minutes from Logan at Maple Creek Ranch. Schedule your appointment online at maplecreekranch.net.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Cluttered and dated are two of the reasons young people say they're leaving Facebook. Hear why the company has lost active daily users for the first time in its history. Also, more sticker shock surprises as a growing number of companies experiment with dynamic pricing. And the engineering and design behind Winter Olympics gear.
Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
That's it for hour one of today's show. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. We did get a lot of suggestions from listeners on how to fix Main Street through the message systems here, but too late to include them in the show. So maybe we'll get back to this one on Monday. Coming up next, the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan right after this here on KVNU Logan.